What's up, everybody? We're Mugs.
Pockets.
And the last video we did, we got a lot of excitement out of people.
Yeah.
And there's one particular part of it that we wanted to expand on. And it was when Pockets, aka Swanberger over here, was like, if you get on a track, don't steal the other person's style.
Right.
Get your own.
Right.
And he used some more colorful words for that. You can check it in the last video. And we want to talk about that, like style. Do people have their own styles anymore? Is everybody just kind of like doing challenges and, people who are maybe new to any culture, they're like, oh, this is what it is, and they copy, right? Because that's kind of how you start, but then you're supposed to go past that. But it's looking like people are just a little bit stuck imitating. So I wanted to talk about that a lot, kind of break it down, like
Nice.
what is style? How do you acquire it? How long does it take? Maybe, if you guys have more questions after this, definitely, write it in, somewhere in the comments and we can get back to it. But, we think about style as clothing, persona, right? And I think a lot of people kind of make that the most important thing now because it's what catches the attention and what will bring people to whatever their channel is, their social media is. But we're more gonna focus, we're not saying that's not important, we're more gonna focus on like the artists or the musicians, or maybe more even specifically the MCs, kind of development of their style and what it means. Because sometimes we talk about, things like patterns, and we talk about like per different songs we might use different voices, and a lot of people tell us like it kind of seems like you guys have unlimited styles. So what is that word use of style versus like what our style is? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like
Definitely.
we each have our own style, so you can kind of tell it's us on the track, but also we do a different style depending on the beat or the song or whatever. So anyway, start. Tell me, what in your opinion is style? What do you think your style is, and how you developed your style? Any of that.
my style, like once I got into jazz and knew that you didn't necessarily like have to rhyme on the one, that like became very interesting to me. So anything to get away from the one, while still kind of captivating the energy and pace of the track, like I'd love to do that. So this is like, if you were like 1, 2, 3, like, and you'd be like, right? And like they'll say like that's the one, right? So it'd be like that would be me. Like I would go off of the one, and then sometimes off of the the 3 as well.
Okay, were there any like particular maybe instruments that you related to that you would practice being? Like, were you the drums? Were you the trumpet?
Well, I was between right. I was between like the drums and keys. Like when the keys would do their little solo or little twinkles, like
okay, yeah.
That was the most. That was my favorite. So yeah, stylistically for me, like I catered a lot to my voice and like what my range was, and like what instruments I could kind of imitate or at least follow. So those keys, the trumpets, a lot of times, like I stuck to a staccato, like which was chopping, certain things. When you hear the enemies, like, in that style, obviously, that's a more legato kind of thing. And for me, I ventured away from that, and got more with the chopping and the maneuvering. Like, I love the way that a verse can maneuver. So a lot of times I'll talk about like how someone can be either a square or a circle within a beat, right? So for instance, if you have like a very like like hard, even a hard sounding hi-hat, right? and it's just real, like, it's not loose at all. It's just my approach to that type of beat is like, I gotta loosen that up. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna be like, I'm like, you know.
And that's definitely like a jazz thing as well. 'Cause
Oh
when
yeah,
you think
yeah.
of like Billie Holiday, she was kind of singing behind the beat,
A
like very
scat, yeah.
kind of like, you know, lazy or yeah, because like the beat is just like the metronome.
Right.
It's what do you do in between that kind of effects that like
Exactly.
the beat of life, the heartbeat,
exactly.
the whatever, like that is going to be pretty steady.
And playing off of that beat also, that helps to create like some real interesting things. And sometimes, like, you know, you find those stylistic choices by accident, you know.
Sure.
And so like being able to record yourself over and over and over again, and then like playing it back, especially takes that you mess up, like you can come up with certain styles, you know.
Sure.
And I figure like, for me at least, like when I would like kind of mess up, and let's say I was like going in between some oh fuck, right? Like I like use that, I'll be like, oh snap, like rhythmically it fit.
Yeah.
So I'll use like the volume in something like you know what I mean, like,
yeah.
And it is, I think it is like it does cater to like how it is that you speak in person too. So like if I'm very sociable like with someone. So a lot of times like I'll speak with my hands and things like this, but I'll also speak with the different tones of voice. Like I show the excitement, you know what I'm saying? There'll be like a little mild growl, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
that you can hear, you know, especially when I'm hyped. You know, or when we laugh on cue.
Okay,
you know?
right. Okay,
Yeah.
so like, there was the jazz influence. Were there MCs that you were? Did you ever like hear somebody and be like, I want to sound like them?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Like for instance, the closest thing to that was Freestyle Fellowship, obviously. And now I heard jazz and was interested in jazz already, so I was already trying to incorporate certain things like that. Now when I heard these cats, it was like, oh
yeah,
like like obvious. And I felt like they had heard it too, and they started going in, so it was like, man, like, so obviously after that I started paying attention way more to what they were doing, and kind of using that as my marker, if you will, like going back to it and saying, damn, like they really did their thing on this verse. Like, how can I do mine in such a way where like I differentiate myself and my style and like use my voice a little more, you know what I'm saying, to either follow the beat or, you know what I'm saying, play off of the beat a little more.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, okay. Sorry, this is telling me more light is required, but I think the video's still pretty good. Okay, so this whole like your style versus you having many styles based on what you're doing, because you can also copy styles.
Right.
You can like do the voices of, you know, a lot of different MCs, because like once you get the control of your instrument, you master your instrument, you hear what other people are doing and you're able to copy it if you want to.
Yeah.
But how do you decide which basically style to use on a beat? When you get a beat from somebody, how do you decide like what voice am I using? What
nice. Yeah.
Without like it not being you anymore?
Sure. What I like, for instance, I mean, we went into it a little bit. Like, if it depends on how tight a beat is, like with that hi-hat, you know, if it's like just an eighth, you know what I'm saying, you know, like I look at it where it's like I want to loosen that up. I want to create a circle out of that square. But if it's already like, I would either follow it a lot of times, you know what I'm saying? Or I will try to then, there's, for me, like what instantly starts to come into my head is like almost like this jumble, you know, as if I'm speaking. Like, so there's like a speak rap, you know what I'm saying? So if it's You know, and vocal wise, it makes me want to stay steady so that you can hear the words. You know what I'm saying? And like not get too flashy with like the tone, right?
Gotcha.
So I will basically kind of like stay within that tone, the speaking tone, and then with the words, like I'll still chop them up in a way, but I chop more of them up together. You know what I'm saying? So that you're getting more of a flip, like within like a certain section.
It sounds like a close conversation.
Yes,
Your rhythm
exactly.
with the whatever the primary or like more obvious rhythm is.
Yeah.
You're like kind of very closely.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
But I think for me, okay, so there's like 4 different styles I feel like that I kind of go from, you know what I'm saying? That I consider myself. And one is like the circle, right? Trying to create a circle out of a square. Playing off of the one, that's the 2, right? Tonally, right? Tonally, I'll do a lot of things with my words or my tone, going from a conversation to like more of like this epic kind of like I'm rapping in a stadium, you know, and I want to cut through sound, or cut through like a wall of sound. Like if everybody's talking and stuff, I'm gonna be like, hey, things, you know. And then there's the disciplined like drummer style. You know, and like not necessarily trying to keep it monotone, you know what I'm saying, but doing it enough so that people can catch on to what it is that I'm doing with the words, and then kind of separate from there a little bit and then go back to it. You know, so those are the 4 styles that I'll do. Now,
sometimes monotone also kind of becomes hypnotic.
Very,
so like,
very true.
Some songs, you know, it could be just there for like each time you listen to it, or the more you listen to it, you get more out of it. The first thing you get out of it might be just like, I'm listening to him as if I'm listening to a drummer. And then, you know, after that, it's like, oh, what are the words?
Right.
Because sometimes you really have to like spend some time.
Oh my God, yeah.
But I think one like huge thing when your style is concerned, is that the words are never just, you know,
they're not fluff.
They're not fluff. They're not mush.
Nah.
It's like the words actually come first. So I think a lot of times, like more beginner MCs, especially who try to do chopping, and I'm like thinking about this as like myself being that very recently. You know, you kind of like, oh, it sounds good when you do triplets. It sounds good like whatever. And what words can I find that like do the or whatever, you know, and it's just like, and you find like words with the right amount of syllables, and it's like, oh, I'm doing it, and then it's just like, no, you gotta actually also say something. You know, at first it's like, only practice like nonsense syllables to kind of get your rhythm with the beat's rhythm and whatever. But you know, as an MC,
oh yeah, you gotta connect everything. You gotta connect everything. You know, but and stylistically too, if you know your music history like that, you know what I'm saying, and where people are getting samples from, things like this, right? Or let's say like you're incorporating books and your book reading into certain styles, like you can phrase things in a way like for instance, haiku d'etat, like you know, you can do like a whole rap that's all haikus, you know what I mean, and then yourself being called the haiku d'etat, you know what I'm saying, it's like like, oh, okay, like, so style wise, like those are choices as well, you know what I'm saying, where you're getting your material from, like what you talk about. So for instance, like let's say you read a book, and the book is on George Washington Carver, right? And in everything that you spit about is like peanut references, you know what I mean? Like, you know, on top of a beat that that you know, whatever style beat that is. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
you can do that type of thing. You know, and so those types of things that I just explained, those are the things that I'll do. That's not necessarily me. That's when I'm like, okay, like I'm going into this bag, you know what I'm saying, to try to pull out these certain things.
Okay.
And I'm like,
so that's another thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So how old were you when you first started like rapping or developing your style?
4 years old.
4 years old.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know,
I remember it was
yeah.
79.
Yeah, we talked about this before. You know, his dad did poetry. His great grandmother is the great Gwendolyn Brooks. Gwendolyn Brooks. If you were in Chicago, you probably learned about her as a great poet. And so what I want like to really stress here is that if he's been doing this since he was 4 years old, and like once he kind of started to do it on a regular basis, I believe you said something like you recorded every single day.
Yeah.
For a very long time.
Oh yeah. For a full year actually.
Yeah, like I think right before we met.
Yeah.
He recorded every single day, and he's at the point now where, if we need to do a song, or he needs to do a verse or an entire song,
right?
With the hook and the verses and just professional quality that could be sent to get mixed and mastered that day, he can definitely do that in a few hours.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna be just like any old thing. It's gonna be great. But that
right.
takes years and years and years and years and years
Yeah.
of doing it, but also doing it and trying to not just like get better, but trying to
right.
find different things that really interest you in
Yep.
it.
That perfectly said.
Because
perfectly
it's like
said.
you there's so many things to master. It's okay, at first it might be rhythm, and at first it might be like just kind of like flashy rhythmic patterns.
Yeah.
Right? And then sometimes it might be, playing with your voice, and sometimes like you said, different bags you can kind of reach into, but you have to stay interested in it in order to keep developing the art. And then does your style just develop basically based on that?
Oh no, you got to practice that.
So how do you practice that?
Okay, so all right, so let's say you use a certain amount of syllables, right? In each state, they'll use a certain amount of syllables because they have a certain style already to their communication, right? So let's say they use a lot of O's and A's, you know what I'm saying? Like A's, right? And in a certain state, and then they use a lot of E's and I's in another state, right? Well, depending if you're a product of your environment, you know what I'm saying, or not, like first you got to kind of break free of that.
Yeah, so like Southern rap versus like New York rap
exactly.
versus like
and then,
Freestyle Fellowship,
right?
West Coast.
And then depending on who it is that you like, you got to break free of that. So why
do you have to break free of that?
So that you can develop your own sense of self. You know what I mean? So if you're using the regular speech, you know what I'm saying, as far as the community is concerned, like a lot of times you kind of fall victim to sounding like somebody else. You know what I mean? And the goal here, like to understand who it is that you are as an MC on top of these beats, is to have your own style. You know what I'm saying? To differentiate yourself from someone else or something else that like kind of caters to a specific rhythm. So for instance, like out in the East Coast, who is this? James Brown, being the godfather of soul, yeah, been on the one. You know what I'm saying? That influenced everybody. So everybody kind of doing things from the one, that was like, I could tell who it is you are, where you from, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was like, that's a good thing and a bad thing at times, you know what I mean? When you're trying to separate yourself in a way stylistically, you know what I mean? So I basically encourage everybody, because that's why it's a journey, so I encourage everybody to listen to different things. So if you listen to hip hop, like try listening to jazz, try listening to soul. Try listening to, pretty much everything. EDM music. I mean, anything that kind of breaks that norm.
Right. So if you have your own style, that does not mean that you should be only able to, let's say in this case, rap to one style of music, right?
Right.
Because
exactly.
you still want to be yourself and have your own style, but can you rap on something slow? Can you rap on something like EDM? Can you rap on
you want to
slow
be
jams and
you want to be well-rounded.
The raw.
You know what I mean? You want to be well-rounded because like that's what's gonna give you your more understanding of yourself and what it is that you can do, which then brings you into what it is that you really, really like. You know what I'm saying? So imagine, like for instance, imagine you knew the elegance of like French, speaking French. You know what I'm saying? So you're like, est-ce que vous avez pas des choses s'il vous plaît? You know what I'm saying? Like you like ask for a fork and be like, fourchette? You know what I mean?
Went to France once. And,
you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But the way that those things, like when basically what I said was like, excuse me, do you have like any tofu or soy? You know what I'm saying? Like, say, est-ce que vous avez pâté de soja s'il vous plaît? Like, son, that's not even a rap. But it's just like, right?
Right.
And like, so a lot of when you speak American or whatever we call it, English, you know what I'm saying? like it comes from so many different places.
Sure.
Right? But there's so many consonants in everything. So you really do have to kind of pick and choose when you get into the art of speaking. Yeah. You gotta pick and choose like consonants and vowels, and when you put them together.
We talked about that last time, right?
Yeah.
And people had lots of questions on the vowels. It's like, really? Like you pay attention to that? But and does that make a difference? But when you think about it, like, does French rap sound different than German rap?
Yeah.
Does that sound different than like, rap from Ghana? Does it sound different than from Nicaragua? Like, they're going to be different because, different letters, different accents on different parts of the word.
Exactly.
It's just, it's like the linguistics of it is just one part of it, but it's a huge part of it.
Yeah, exactly. Going to France, like one of the things that they know that I won't say they, like as in everybody there loves it. You know what I'm saying? But the general consensus that we found was that like they love the conviction of rap. You know what I'm saying? You know how rap sounds hardcore? Like, well, then you're not using like a lot of vowels like in that, you know what I mean, in order to just create the hardcore element. There's a lot of consonants like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and even when it comes to like, like the beat.
Yeah, because when I think of French music, is that very like the French songs like Edith Piaf, like La Vie en Rose, or like Toi mon amour, mon ami, just like very.
It's real.
So if like the angsty teenagers or just like whoever like wants like that kind of missing that in their life, then that would be very appealing for sure.
But to learn both of them, like you can do an elegant song, you know what I'm saying? And I don't necessarily mean just the languages, but like how it is that those languages can play off of, what it is that you have in front of you. You know what I'm saying? So you become more of an artist in that way, where you're looking at the art of communicating by way of your sound, right? By way of your actual volume, also by way of your rhythm, right? And I mean, there's so many other things, right? But one of the other things that a lot of people do that I don't think that they necessarily notice is the use of negative space. You know what I mean? The use of negative space has like it's starting to get there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And especially people who are like so excited and so anxious and so hyped to rap, they'll never let a second go by without a word in it.
Yeah.
And it's like that's what gives it shape. That's what gives it phrasing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I have lots of things.
Let's-
Are
let's-
you done? Okay.
Let's move.
So, another thing that I think is super important is something that you also brought up in the last video, which you were saying like everyone wants everything to be so easy because we now have so many tools to help us make music in a much easier way, right? And it's just getting easier and easier and easier to the point where you might not need to really do anything soon, but like put in some commands. So I was thinking it like from the point of view of, we've talked about this before too, like what type of beats you receive as an MC and how almost the difficulty of the beats affects you developing your craft as a writer. Like, because if you get something that's challenging, a beat that kind of because he's been doing a lot of like beat sales, and a lot of the people who got the beats, they're not the loop that they're used to. The beats actually change.
They change,
and sometimes change several times, and they're not maybe sure how to approach that, how to make a cohesive song that makes sense out of it if it's not like a very smooth loop, and so many of us just get used to that. So I feel like the more challenging the beats are, the more you have to step up as the artist to create something.
Exactly.
So these types of challenges, did that help you develop your style?
Oh my goodness, yes. Because like, and not just style as an MC, but style as an actual musician, meaning that I was making songs, you know what I'm saying, in my style. So like, an arrangement can be the same exact thing as somebody else. But as long as I knew that there were different parts in the actual beat, I knew that, okay, here I'm gonna choose a volume that is like level. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna wave in that, you know what I'm saying? In that level, right? By the time I get to the hook, that might be like more rah-rah in your face, the next thing that I present as far as like my second verse is going to be stylistically, I'm gonna break it up more, and you're gonna hear more of an energy that also could have went to the first, you know what I'm saying, to the first verse. It could have been the first verse. But if you keep doing the same thing, right, throughout the song, stylistically, you're also telling a story. You know what I mean? So for me, the style was like, if I had to like kind of name it or something like that, right? It'd be like the volume style. You know what I'm saying? Where like I start here and then like I go like this, you know what I'm saying? And then I kind of taper off, or I'll keep it just like this.
This is reminding me of Pac-Man, like
nice. You know what I mean? Or the Pac-Man style, you know?
Yeah, Pac-Man style.
So like as far as getting through an actual song, I had to make sure that I wasn't still doing the volume style every time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because, it's easy to get stuck in a thing you do. Like, is it just my style, and then just do the same thing?
Because everything can sound the same. Like if it's the same intensity, it's just like if you're drawing a line, and we've made this reference before. Sure. You're drawing a line, and that line is the same thickness throughout the whole piece. It's not gonna really look like, you know what I'm saying, it's not gonna look like it has depth to it. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be one-dimensional. So I want my songs to be like multi-dimensional, so I won't come in with the same thing on each, you know what I'm saying, each part of it. However, they will be cousins of each other. So that's kind of like stylistically how I choose. And then what I stay away from also helps develop my style, because I don't want to do the same thing, you know what I'm saying, again.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay, so here's something.
Got you.
The word like rapper just kind of gets like thrown out there. It's like, I'm a rapper, he's a rapper, everybody's a rapper. And then some people are like, well, I'm not a rapper, I'm an MC. Yeah, but an MC still raps. So you're still kind of a rapper. But like, I see what you're doing there.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
But to you, a rapper or an MC, like, should it be a given that they are a musician and they are a poet
Yeah.
and they are kind of like an artist,
Yeah.
like all of these things, because we kind of like have this very flat idea of or the general public has this, and a lot of us now, of like a rapper just being this very flashy person, you know,
Yeah, it's more like
video
image
somewhere.
driven today.
Yeah. And it's popular culture image driven.
Yeah.
And not necessarily actually good at the craft
Right.
at all.
Right.
But what is like an MC or a rapper to you?
An MC and or a rapper to me is one who just loves language, loves languages, loves words, loves the sound of words, loves putting words together in different ways, like can't get enough of putting these things, these infinite possibilities together. You know what I'm saying? Like a rapper to me is one that makes sense of the world with a single word at the perfect time. You know what I'm saying? So for instance, I mean, now I'm doing what a rapper does. Like I'm ornamenting certain things, right? You know what I mean? I am decorating. You feel me? But I feel that a rapper should change the perspective of a person just by way of people hearing those words. Like you want to be transported to a different dimension damn near, or at least a different spot from where it is that you prospectively stand. You know what I'm saying? So if the person comes up and says, use some of these lyrics or whatever, right? A city drinker meets malt liquor on the corner of Black Pride. Grabs the bottle, Billy D advertises Colt 45. Another name for a gun, plus sounds like a religious cult. Why? Like, all right, so I'm setting up certain things, you know what I'm saying? Where it's like, maybe you've heard them, maybe you haven't, right? But to the regular person, you understand that when we have a conversation and we're talking about, man, why do you like beer? Or why do you like malt liquor? You know what I'm saying? I don't sound anything like these other motherfuckers, you know what I'm saying? As you can tell, like, all right, he a little special. What is he doing? You know what I'm saying? What is she doing? You know what I'm saying? That, like, creates this world of it, you know what I mean? And why are they doing that? You feel me? So artistically, like, that's where we come from, you know what I mean? And stylistically, like, within the art world, because you can have so many different artists that are like, you know, they're trying to be a certain type of thing, you know what I mean? So you can have that flashy style, you can have that gory style, you can have that, you know what I'm saying, that wordy style, or the poetical style, you know what I mean? However, within that art world, in the rapper world, a lot of these rappers, I almost expect them to know all of these worlds, and then kind of choose from them to make up that style that they speak from, you know? A lot of times you got your own dialect as a rapper, you know what I'm saying? You have your own sense of timing, you know what I mean?
And that develops over a long time.
Oh my goodness. You already know.
Okay, so to develop your style, okay, how important do you think it is to develop yourself also as a human being, as a person?
Like more so.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? More so. I will give you 3 things that you should be doing. You know what I'm saying? Like this, I call them like it's like the 360.
Count them. 1.
You know what I'm saying? So one is that 90, right? The 90%. The 90 is basically you being cool with yourself. You being cool with your self-image, your like the way you talk, the way you stand out, the way you do things. You know what I'm saying? You're not moved by anybody. You know what I mean? And the reason that I start off with this is because of the fact that a lot of MCs come from what we call griots. That stem from West African terminology.
I was going to bring
you know
that back later.
Yeah. My bad.
Okay, that's okay. We'll get there.
Okay, so don't go on that.
No, you can, but all I was going to say that when I think about your style, I think very much of the griot kind of like storytelling as like your almost like purpose.
Yeah.
And just like Freestyle Fellowship having their inner city griot,
Griots,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Which kind of like really connected with
Oh
you.
my God.
I just feel like that's a really big part of your style.
Oh,
So I was gonna talk about that, but yeah,
huge,
just put it in there.
Huge. Okay.
Put it in that same bucket.
Because historically, like right, historically it makes sense. Like it's we are following traditions, you know what I'm saying, that were from our culture, you know what I'm saying? Like so like that's how it is that we represent, right, what it is that we represent. So that was a little like
Yeah,
that's
that was
kind of
nice.
what it felt like, right?
That was a very rapper thing to do.
So as far as the griot, right, and this West African terminology, right?
Somebody wants to look that up. It's GRIOT.
Yes. Boom.
Okay.
So as far as that is concerned, what you're doing is you're giving folks like an attitude that these cats were looked at as shaman. You know what I'm saying? They were like not affected. So while, you know, think about it, while they're going into slavery, these griots still like had the audacity to have stories and have rhymes, if you will, or songs that told what was happening while it was happening to them. You know what I'm saying? And we didn't have history books. These are folks remembering things the same way that we come up with A, B, C,
And it's
D,
so much
E.
easier to memorize things once you add a melody to
Boom.
it. And I know this because somewhere in grade school I had to learn all of the U.S. presidents, and we learned them to Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Washington, Adams, Jefferson.
Nice.
And then like I still remember the whole thing.
That's so dope.
But I'm sorry.
No,
go
no,
ahead.
but those were all tricks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like to be like, okay, this is how we're gonna store a lot of this stuff. So remember, as a rapper, like like I'm not gonna be looking at you as a rapper if you can't remember your lyrics. If you playing your words like over, you know what I'm saying? These things. No, these are things you have to practice. You have to practice these because that, like back in the day, the townspeople depended on you for that. Because nobody else was doing that. They was chilling, living life, you know what I'm saying? But if you had that skill, it was like, oh, wait a minute, he might be one of them shaman. He might be a griot rapper, you know what
Well,
I'm saying?
they were also like, you know, there's other stuff like sewing it into quilts and.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, of course.
Okay.
Of course. But like, so during this time, like there was a certain attitude where it's like, okay, like I'm immoved, nice. Like I cannot be moved. You know what I'm saying? And I think that for myself, like when I look at going forward, like with like these certain styles and with these this type of history, right? I'm looking back into all of those things while I'm creating these songs. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's exactly what a lot of these other cats should be doing.
Okay, so this is why y'all see why I'm around. He's a fountain of information, and sometimes, you know, we were
We don't want to get off track. You know,
we were on one,
yeah,
and then 90%.
right.
So
I'm about to go with the 8. So the two, yeah. Hey, you already know. So the 2 is 180.
Okay.
And that's so dope that you actually brought that up, right? Because the 180 is about how well you get along with the other person.
Okay, so 1 was how well you get along with yourself.
Boom. 2, 180, how well you get along with the other person.
Or like any other person? Like
any other person.
Whoever you,
yeah.
Okay.
Any other person that's in your circle, you know what I'm saying? It can be 3 people, like whatever.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But how well you relate with that other person.
Okay.
And then 3 would be the 360.
Okay.
Is what you give, what you're passing on to the other person. You know what I'm saying? So 1, boom, share with yourself, you know what I'm saying, and understand yourself. Share with another, you know what I'm saying, and be able to take from the other, like in a way that doesn't make them feel like, damn, I cannot give this person anything. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like
the people pleasers.
You know what I'm
that
saying?
Just
Right.
Like, oh, no.
Right.
And the givers, then they're kind of like, what do I do?
Is that And then the 3, boom, like what it is you pass on to that other person. You know what I'm saying? And these are the things outside of being the MC. You know what I'm saying?
So that sounds like community to me.
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay.
Of course. Because that's who you're going to be speaking to.
Right. Okay, so how important is community in developing your style? Because if you have somebody close to you, you're going to, like, we spend so much time together, you know, we pick up each other's mannerisms a lot. So obviously, whoever's in your community, you're going to kind of pick up their things, but like, how are you still going to be your own self?
So this is why I look at it as important, because like if you're speaking to your community, right? A lot of people, they have different styles of how it is that they hear things, how it is that they speak about things, what it is that they say, what it is that they understand, right? So if you're learning a lot from these folks, you get to write in those ways that can like kind of cater to like more than one person, more than just yourself, more than just your inner circle. You know what I mean? So now when you get ready to make an album that is like international, you can speak to a crowd that is an international crowd. You can speak, you have that energy as well as that spirit, if you will, that just kind of spreads, that everybody kind of gets. Even if they don't understand your words, they just get your energy. They just get who it is that you are and what you're doing. And that presence is actually vocally, you can put that presence on a beat with just, you know what I'm saying? Even with just how you sound, you know what I mean? But the more like developed you are as a person, the more integrity you can put in your songs, the more conviction you can put in your songs, the understanding element you can put in your songs, and you know how to switch up, because essentially what you're going to be doing is you're going to be speaking to that beat. You know what I'm saying? The same way that you speak to some of these folks.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So I got a thing.
Got you.
So when I first moved to the States and to Chicago, and kind of that was my first exposure to maybe like non-radio hip hop, right? I mean, also that was a great time. It was like UNITY was playing the whole time, and it's just like very, very dope time. But like the people I got to know in Chicago at the time, they all had very different styles. Yeah. So like there was, you know, Philip Morris with his like, you know, nerdy rap, and then there was, you know, Pugs Adams, there was Drunken Monkey, D Jackson, Rita J. Everybody was like completely different. Yeah. And even like groups, like you had Typical Cats, right?
Nice.
The 3 of them sounded completely different, right? Yeah. So Quell, completely different than Quasar, than Denizen, Kane, right? Yep. And I remember going to an event once, and I don't know if I was backstage or if I don't know what was happening, but I remember like hearing like Jay-Z rapping. And I thought it was a song until I realized that the dude on stage just sounded exactly like Jay-Z. Right. And I remember like actually asking people like, he sounds exactly like Jay-Z. Yeah. And they're like, oh yeah, that's kind of his thing. And I'm like, what do you mean that's... Why would he want to sound exactly like somebody else? Especially somebody who's like way more established and famous. Like, you're not going to beat out Jay-Z at Jay-Z. Like, why would you do... Like, I was so confused. Like, literally. And people were just like, no, that's... Yeah, people like that. Because like, oh, wow, he can sound like Jay-Z. But, you know, it's such a gimmick, right? Yeah, sure. And I feel like at a certain point, like, that just became... normal, or to some people that was never a problem. And like, do you have like any like you already opinion or like any like insight and like when that started, why that happened?
That started because basically when people got hungry for popularity. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't no longer about the art. Like, people were hungry. Like, just like, oh shit, they giving me props because I sound like this other guy.
But because they thought Jay-Z, like, what made Jay-Z was like that.
Sure.
But that's because like that was him and he developed it and he used it
Yeah.
to be himself.
Yeah, sure.
Once you copy it,
Yeah.
you didn't come up with that.
Nah.
You didn't
Nah,
do
you
all the work
poor man's version of that,
to
you know?
develop that style.
Right. Right. It's a shortcut. And a lot of these MCs will do that. And a lot of these fans, they don't know any better because they don't know the true value of what an MC, or what makes an MC valuable, what makes hip hop valuable. That's why it is that you would even get folks talking about this in such a manner where it's like, yo, fuck all that. You know what I'm saying? That's why you would get folks kind of angry. But once you're outnumbered, once you're outcasted, it's almost like they then begin to redefine what hip hop is for them. You know what I'm saying? And they just like keep using the same word. And I'm like, yo, why don't you just call that shit clowns? Like, you know what I mean? Because this is I cannot tell who's who. Like, you know what I mean? This, you know, it doesn't make sense. It's not music at that point. You know what I'm saying? When everybody's trying to imitate everybody. You know what I mean? So I feel like for me, like as a rapper, like I know exactly what you're doing. And if I could tell everything that you're trying to do, you know what I'm saying? It's just like you're a copy. You know what I mean? What do we do with copies? We utilize them usually to protect the original. You know what I'm saying? But in this case, you know what I'm saying? You got to get out of there. You know what I'm saying? Because the original was already here. Like, and we notice that like there is value in the original. You know what I'm saying? Like more so than the copy. You know what I mean? But that's when you do that, you make prints. You know what I'm saying? Of an original, right? And so that you can keep the original, because usually that is for the artist, so they can make more money off of that. But y'all are doing it in a different way. You know what I'm saying? I see, like, what you're doing is smart, business-wise, but that's when you start to destroy the art. And it's like, I'm not going to destroy my art form for the sake of trying to make some money. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's...
Not when you've worked on it for decades.
No. Hell no.
And that's the difference, like, for people who, like, don't care about the art, like, the business it's basically, right now, if you are great at marketing, you are more popular than if you're great at your art.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Which is, I think, to me, it's like, why it's such a shame
it's backwards
that everyone feels like they need to be the main performer.
Right.
Because we need groups and communities where people who love the art and also have the skill and the inclination to be in the marketing or to be in like the advertising or to be a lawyer, and all of those people come together in a group and kind of support the people that truly are artists and that's their whole life's purpose. Because some of these people that are, you know, they could have supported the art with these other gifts that they have, the other skills that they have, they won't stick around as an artist forever because they'll realize it's not for them.
Exactly.
You know, sometimes it takes a lot of sacrifice and be like, oh yeah, I'm done with this. Now I'm gonna try this. But like, if you really care about that,
excuse me,
you know, in a community, you kind of like. That's like if like for cooking, everybody decided we're gonna chop ingredients. Nobody was cooking it.
Right.
Nobody was opening the restaurant. Nobody was, you know, adding salt or pepper. Like it's just like everybody's chopping.
Everybody's just chopping.
Like,
boom.
Which is kind of funny because it's
chopping. Yeah, exactly.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, if you love it, but you don't think that, you know, the performing life is for you,
right? You
can still support the art with whatever you are great at, because the artists, they're probably not great at that, and they could really use your help. And you know, if we had those more well-rounded circles and communities, then we wouldn't need the third party, you know, companies that take 95% from the artists, because, you know, you'd have the lawyer in your circle, you know, or at least like helping you part-time or whatever. Anyway, you all right?
A little bit. No, I'm good.
Anything else on the subject of style?
Yeah, style is one of the bigger reasons why it is
Style
that
is king.
you already know. And it's like what I was about to say is like it's just one of the reasons why it is that you love your culture so much. It's like it's the newness in the communication that you're already giving. You know what I'm saying? Anytime something gets too stale or redone and hashed out, you know what I'm saying, over and over and over again, like you're like, all right, we're done. You know what I'm saying? It's like beating a dead horse. Like we're done with that. You know what I mean? So stylistically,
don't ever beat a horse even alive.
there, please. You know what I'm saying? So stylistically, what it is that you offer, like gets then put into the sauce, you know what I'm saying, or the soup, you know what I'm saying, the stew that you're brewing.
I'm getting a little hungry.
You know, right, exactly. Right, and
chopping,
and you're like, yo, right, and you're like, yo, like now there's this element of there's this ingredient that you can taste, you know what I'm saying, that's just like, that's amazing. Now, when you get another artist within the culture that is like, yo, that's dope, but I'm about to beat that out. You know what I mean? I'm interested in that. Like, that's what I want. I don't want to be walking around mad because, you know what I'm saying, oh man, this person found out he can get 5 plays, you know what I'm saying, if he does this, and this one get 10. Like,
yeah.
Come on, man. Sell something else. That's another product. You know what I mean?
Go sell some shoelaces.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Make that popular.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna put my few cents into this whole style conversation. I guess it was one of the questions that I asked you, and I asked you because I actually wanted to answer it. It's like, how do you keep your own style while kind of doing something different on each song or each beat? I think I definitely do approach singing or rapping or whatever on any different beat as like my kind of conversation with it. So I kind of see it as if I was talking to different people, right?
Right.
I'm still myself, but I'm going to talk differently to maybe a 5-year-old girl that I see as lost and crying in a grocery store.
Yeah.
Talk differently than I would be maybe talking to a friend who's a teacher and is fed up with, you know, the education system.
Dope.
And then differently than I would be maybe to like a police officer or a firefighter that's I don't know, looking at me funny. That's probably going to be different.
Nice.
Or differently than maybe a teenager who I saw kind of like, you know, mouth off to their mom or something.
Nice.
Every one of those people, it's a different energy, you know, or like maybe my younger self, or maybe like, you know, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So each time, yes, every song's gonna sound different because it's a different person coming to me for a conversation, and then we're kind of having an exchange. So just like when he was saying, if the beat is very like like a little almost like flat, right?
Yeah.
Then
Great word.
you have to add a little bit motion, right? But if so much is going on, I'm going to probably do like the most simple line so that I don't get lost. Because if I did too much, I would just become part of the chaos.
Right.
So you kind of just like, you pay attention to what can I bring to this conversation with this piece of music. And so that's why when you get beats from somebody like him, or maybe, you know, somebody with who used to be a jazz drummer and now is a producer, right? When you get beats from those type of people, then you do have to think a little bit more, because then you're not just thinking this kind of conversation, but it's like, you know, there's more like maybe excited parts in the conversation, and then maybe you kind of like let it breathe, let the other person talk. There's the negative space, and it's just like, but it's always me talking. So who I've become over the last whatever years, if I'm, open about that, if I know myself as a human, as a person, and as an artist, then I can have a genuine conversation. If I don't know myself, then maybe I'm a little bit more confused, and my conversation with the other person will probably not be as genuine or as honest.
Right.
Maybe I'm just, making stuff up to make them go away, which sometimes could also be
nice.
That song could happen. Anyway, that's my few cents to throw in there.
Yeah.
Anything else? If you have questions, please let us know if there's anything like, more that we can. I'm tired and hungry.
Exactly.
None.
Yeah.
No.
No. Well, just one last thing.
Yeah.
It's just the outro. You know what I mean? But basically, I had a person ask me, it was like, "Hey, when would you use like less words?" And it's basically like if the beat was like insert word.
Outro.
That's it. Cause then, like, cause that's also paying homage to the person that made the beat. Like, you going in.
Yeah.
I don't need to be, you know what I'm saying? Unless I follow it, you know what I'm saying? Cause then you're trying not to clash with
and then if like it did that, and then it did that without the breaks, then you can go along on top of it and match it. That already sounds dope. I want to make that song.
Boom. Let's go.
Okay. Later. Gators.
Peace.
Toodaloo.